Mr. Speaker.
Sorry.
So having spent the last few hours, we've all been spending a lot of time debating and discussing and listening. And, focusing obviously today exclusively on the biennial budget and the amendments and the objections. And I want to begin by stating the obvious, but acknowledging the work that has been done by all of our appropriators here in the body today, especially our new chairman, Chairman Barry Knight, and our most recent chairman, Chairman Luke Torian. Thanks to sound fiscal leadership by Governor Northam and Chairman Torian throughout the pandemic, we find ourselves today in a unique opportunity to make generational investments in core services, as well as the opportunity to offer targeted tax relief to working Virginians who are most impacted as a result of this pandemic. There are items in this budget that we can all celebrate on both sides of the aisle, but there are also very troubling cuts to Governor Northam's introduced budget. Mr. Speaker, members of this body, last week before amendments to the budget were announced, I expressed my concerns regarding the direction in which Governor Youngkin is steering the Commonwealth. However, we extended an offer. We said we will work across party lines, across the aisle, in order to chart a new course for the sake of all Virginians. We hoped that the governor would work with us to choose a better path forward. Instead, Governor Youngkin's preferred budget, what are we seeing? We're seeing an effort to weaken our public education system by cutting over $300 million from new public pre-K education funding. We're seeing an effort to gut environmental protection and clean water funding for our rivers and for the Chesapeake Bay. And we're seeing an effort to make housing less affordable for the families who are struggling every single day to pay their rent and mortgages. Mr. Speaker, despite what Governor Youngkin is saying, this is not what parents and what Virginians across the Commonwealth really want to support them and their families. Virginians overwhelmingly say they want us to invest in their children's education. They want us to invest in their safety. They want us to invest in a clean environment. What parents really want for their children is to have access to a quality education, regardless of where they live or their income. But this budget would cut over $200 million from school divisions, those at the greatest need, hurting the most vulnerable students. What parents really want, Mr. Speaker, is for their children to learn from the best, from the most educated teachers. But this budget reduces teacher pay raises by 20%, further aggravating the rapidly growing teacher shortage. What parents really want, Mr. Speaker, is to ensure that they have access to quality, affordable pre-K and child care. They want to see their children on a path to success in school and beyond. But this budget abandons children and working families by shrinking investments in quality pre-K and child care programs. It cuts them in half. This also comes at a time when an increasing number of parents, especially women, are unable to return to the workforce because of lack of affordable, quality child care. Mr. Speaker, members of the body, what parents really want is clean air for their children to breathe and clean water to drink. They want to know their children and grandchildren will not be burdened with the costs of flooding and extreme weather events. But this budget removes Virginia from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, as well as cutting the majority of funding to address failing sewage overflow systems. What parents really want is to provide their families with a roof over their head, a safe place where kids can study, where kids can play, where kids can grow into the amazing adults we know they will become one day. But this budget cuts 2/3 of the funding for the Housing Trust Fund and would leave working families out in the cold. Throughout the pandemic, many states were forced to make deep cuts into core services. However, good governance by Chairman Torian, Virginia Democrats, and prudent fiscal policy in the face of uncertainty has put the Commonwealth in a strong position to ensure that we can make historic investments in public education, in environmental protections, and affordable housing over the past 2 years. Democrats fought to support working families who have been struggling with child care costs and other issues during the pandemic. We fought to preserve clean air and water, and we fought to ensure that Virginians could remain safe in their homes. As a result, of our fiscal stewardship, CNBC ranked Virginia the top state for business, while also ranking Virginia's education system second in the nation last year. Mr. Speaker, these budget cuts will put a lot of success at risk. They could make our Commonwealth less desirable for employers and impede our ability to strengthen our workforce. If these cuts are allowed to stand, and our neighboring states would potentially have an economic edge over us for years to come. Some will be quick to argue, Mr. Speaker, and members of this body, that we have invested enough in our children. But you know what? We can do more, and we must do more. Targeted tax relief for those who need it most is critical, but we must not do so in a manner that threatens core services for years to come. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, members of this body, I will be voting no on the budget today. At this unique moment, we have the ability to do so much more to ensure that we can reinvest in the future. Mr. Speaker, we owe it to Virginians, we owe it to families, we owe it to our children. That is what Virginia parents really want. Thank you.